Today we gather to honor the memory of Specialist Fred Puck Unger and celebrate his military service and patriotism. He served his country valiantly and performed his duties with dignity and personal courage. It is right for us to mourn his loss together. It is right for us to draw upon the spiritual resources we have together. And it is right for us to continue our mission with honor and integrity. Those of you who knew Specialist Puck knew how much he loved being a paratrooper and riding his Harley. Both of these loves have something in common. He enjoyed them with his friends that he was closest to, his battle buddies. Specialist Puck was a great soldier, much like David, who was a great soldier in the Bible, who fought tirelessly for ancient Israel at a time of great uncertainty and against many enemies. David's mentor was Saul, the king of Israel. Saul's son Jonathan was David's best friend, his battle buddy. In one battle, the fighting was so fierce that both Saul and Jonathan were both killed in action. You do not have to imagine how devastated David felt when he heard the news. Like David, we are here today because our friend, our battle buddy, was struck down on the battlefield. Like David, we honor the memory of our fallen brother by the way we mourn with our spiritual resources and by continuing the mission. The story tells us that when David heard the news, he mourned with the people. Being a multi-talented man, he wrote a song as a way to mourn. For many of us, mourning is not easy. We will not always write songs like David did, but we can all mourn in different ways, and we can mourn together. This is one of the reasons we have a memorial ceremony. Today we remind ourselves that we are not alone. We have each other. We are one team and one fight. We share in training, we share in triumph, we share in tragedy, and we mourn together. The story tells us that David had the song written down to be part of the spiritual tradition of his people. David's example reminds us that we have a spiritual aspect to our lives, and our spiritual lives need to be exercised to be resilient. The Army loves to emphasize the physical, the mental, and even the emotional aspects of our lives at times. Our spiritual lives need to be exercised so that we are resilient in that way. But what about the spiritual? What about those beliefs that you hold on to? What truths do you claim to guide your thoughts and actions? What do you rely on for answers? These are the things we all rely on in tragic times. These are the spiritual resources that provide comfort and hope. The Bible reminds us, "Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted." Like David, we rely on our spiritual resources to be comforted in times like this. David mourned, and David relied on spiritual resilience. But David also looked around and saw that the war was not over. There was a mission still to accomplish, so he sought out his commander, God himself, for the next mission order, and then he got back into the fight. Like David, we find ourselves in the midst of a conflict. There's a mission still to accomplish, and like David, we honor the fallen by continuing our mission. Specialist Fred Puck Unger honored the oath he took to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. He gave his life in selfless service to this country. He fought and he died honorably. Mission first, giving his last full measure of devotion. We honor him today by mourning together and by drawing upon our spiritual resources and by continuing the mission. May God grant us also the ability to serve our country with dignity and personal courage demonstrated by our fallen brother, Specialist Fred Unger, who we all know as Puck.